Alright, hey guys, Lisa Lori here and I'm back with another video. So originally I wanted to do a write a song with me kind of video, kind of like how I did my paint with me videos. But that wasn't really working out because most of my songs are finished or they're not finished and I'm stuck with them and that's why they're unfinished, but most of them are finished. So I'm going to share with you guys two songs that I wrote. One of them is for the people of Mount Carmel, the people who died, and the other one is for a story that I'm writing um, that has very much similarities to the people of Mount Carmel. And actually, I mentioned the Waco Siege in it. And there's a reason that I wrote this story. It was a song. It was not the song. It was a story that was put on my heart because of Waco, because of what happened, and because I wanted to kind of take away. I know there are real cults, but Waco, the people in Mount Carmel were not. They were not a cult. They were Christians. They were God-fearing people, and they were not a cult. And so I wanted to try to take away some of the stigma from cults because yes, there are cults, but there's not all of them are bad. I mean, yeah. So, anyways, I'm gonna show you guys the first song, which is the one for the people of Mount Carmel, and I'm also gonna tell you guys how I um, wrote it. So when I first, I actually just changed it, but when I first wrote it, I approached it from a Christian perspective because, like I said, these people were God-fearing people. They were not a cult. The survivors will be the first to tell you that they are not a cult. They weren't a cult. They didn't even call themselves Branch Davidians. Actually, that was a word. That was a term that was coined to them by the media, by the government, by the agents. They called themselves students of the Bible or students of the Seven Seals. They didn't call themselves Branch Davidians. They did kind of what's the word? I can't think of the word right now. But they were originally a division of the Seventh Day Adventists, sort of. They had direct kind of. I mean, they had a lot of the same core beliefs as Seventh Day Adventists. They derived from the Seventh Day Adventist Church. So, anyways, so first I approached it, like I said, because I didn't want to take away from their beliefs because I knew they were God-fearing people. So I approached it from a very Christian point of view and kind of wrote it like that. But it really wasn't working for me. I didn't like it too much. So I just kind of fixed it up. And there was a verse I used in an early draft of another song. And I really liked it. And so, yes, I'm saying it's for the people of Mount Carmel, but it's kind of mostly, I guess, for Rachel because it makes me think of at least the first verse. Well, and I'll just share it with you just now. Anyways, if I could go back, if I could change your fate, I would have died for you. I would have took your place. There's nothing I wouldn't do to keep you here, to keep me from missing you. So, you see, like I said, that first verse made me really think of Rachel and that connection I have with her. Because even though I said that, I've said before, recently at least, that this connection with her it's a very positive one. It does make me feel very happy sometimes. But there are, or at least most of the time, I just feel very comforted by it. But sometimes I do feel a little bit sad. I do wish she was still here. I wish her children were still alive. I mean, they didn't deserve to die, not in the way that they did. So let's do the next verse now. And this second verse was originally in the first draft of the song. I've changed a few of the words, but it's pretty much very, very closely to the same. I know there's a reason for everything God does. I just don't understand why He took you away. So now the third verse. 'Cause taken from the world too soon, you never got to live. You suffered as you died because of those who knew not what they did. Now heaven is where you rest with the Father. So those second and third verses was originally in the first draft of the song, and they were actually two. The third verse was actually two different verses, and I kind of I revised it, took out some words, a couple lines, and then made it into one verse. So yeah. So next verse. I wish I could go back to change that awful day, but no one really knows what God has planned for us, or the reasons for everything He does. So that's a lot of that is pretty much the same, but I think about half of that is the same from the first draft, and then the other half is completely new lines. So next verse. Like why He took you away, and the children most under 10, they'll never grow old, never have babies of their own, but in heaven they are safe with the Father. So that's the end of the song. I really hope you guys liked it. I am actually really proud of it now. And you see the children were mentioned at the end. Like I said, it's not really for, I guess, everyone at Mount Carmel. It's more for Rachel, and then the children you mentioned at the end. Anyways, next song. And that one doesn't have a name. I just call it Waco Victims because I just titled the document Waco Victims because I couldn't think of a name for it. It still doesn't have a name. So if you guys have any name suggestions, leave it in the comments below. Same with this next song, because this one doesn't have a name. It's just titled the name of my story right now. So, yeah. You watched it on the news, that old Cyrus home, going down in smoke. I've heard people say they got what they deserved, but how can it be that 16 of God's children deserve to die? So those two verses are largely the same from the first draft of this song. So actually, this song too, for my story, was I just revised this one too. I don't know why I can't say edited. Whatever. Anyways, I have weird speech impediments sometimes. I couldn't stay to statistics for like 4 years, till like college, till I was like 17 years old, okay? Don't ask. Anyways. Next one. The next line is a line that it's new to this draft, or the next verse, it's 2 lines. And then the 2 lines after that one, so the third and the fourth, and then about the same, was from the first draft of the first song, and I put it in this song too because I really liked it. Okay. Cause when I think of all the little ones, I think of what they'll never do. They'll never grow old, never have babies of their own. And then this next part is going to mention some of the names. Asher and Tommy, Eve and Isaiah, Samara, Roshan, Kala. And to the ones who sacrificed for me, Hannah, Nate, Leo and Martha, Caitlin and Angie, Caleb and Grace. These are the little ones, and these are the people you say deserve to die. So that last verse I just sang was an entirely new verse that I wrote for this song. And then the part with the names, and the part that says, and to the ones who sacrificed for me, that was part of the original draft of this song, but it was later on in the song, and I just moved it up. Next verse. This next verse is, well, couple of lines are completely new lines, and then the last 3 lines in this verse are from the original. So, anyways, you've asked me how I feel to be a cold survivor, but how would you feel if 16 of your people had perished in flames? And when I use that word cult, I'm not trying to say that the people from my story were a cult. They weren't a cult. They were a group of Christians just living in a community together. Just a bunch of, just like, I think it was like 5 different Christian families just living in a community together. Maybe, I think it might have been more than 5 at that point. But they started out with 5 and it just grew from there. But they weren't a cult. They were just a group of families who had just been living together in a community. And it started by one guy, he started a church, they live in a small town, and there's no church in the town, and he was a Christian, so he started a church, and churches can be started by anyone. They follow the letter of the Bible anyways. So, and then he noticed that some of the people in his congregation, some of the people who went to his church, didn't have homes, didn't have a place to live. They were living either in the streets or in homeless shelters. And so he decided to build a community where these people can come and live. And he was going to live there with his family too. He lived there with his family. At the time when he built it, it was his wife, and they had 2 daughters, 5 and 2. And the story takes place about 17 years later. But so he builds this. He gets together with a bunch of the other men from and gets the men from the congregation, the men that go to the church, and they build this community, this big community where anybody can live. You can live there, especially the people who don't have homes, but anybody can live there. People can move in, even if they have a place, they can just sell their house and live there if they want to have a community. It's kind of like having like your own village. They say it takes a village to raise a child. Anybody can live there. One girl ended up there because her sister brought her there because their home was not as safe. Her sister was in college and she was younger. The older sister brought her younger sister there. Her sister's younger. The sister's in college, and her sister was at home with the parents, and the parents were just not really fit to be parents, so she brought her sister there to that community. It was a wonderful place to live, anyways. So they weren't a cult. I didn't use that word to say that. I was using that word to say that they were a cult. I was using that word because that's how they were described in the book, in my story. Anyways, so next verse. Annie, my sister and mother of 2, Sion, my love, father of my unborn son. Evie, my sister, she was only 5. My brother, Roshan, he was 9. And the youngest, my nephew, Tommy, he was just 3. So before you ask me how it feels, think, how would you feel if 16 of your family and friends had perished in flames? Sorry that wasn't a very good singing rendition. 1, I am not a trained singer, never had vocal lessons. 2, it's hard to sing and then stop and then start talking and then sing. It's hard to do that. You really should be singing in fluid motion. But hey, I was doing this to explain to you my writing process. So the parts with the last verse that I read, the first 3 lines or the first 2 lines were in the last verse were from the original, but then were not from the original, but the last 3 were from the original. I got that backwards. And then the ones with the names where it says like sister and then who they kind of like, well, the last part with the names and being a little more descriptive, that was part of the original too, and it's kind of in the same spot as it was before. So yeah, So anyways, I think the rest might be a really long video. Hope it's not too long for you guys. Anyways, hope you all have a great day. Thanks for watching. Love you all.